Blessings. Hello, hello, hello. Well, welcome to Womb Wednesdays with yours truly, Ramona Riley, aka the Vagina Lady, and owner of Cosmic Woman. Wednesdays, every Wednesday, I am here, I am live, and we do a Womb Wednesday. And every week is a different topic, of course, but because of the month we're in, we're really focusing on certain different types of things. So one of those things is definitely healthy periods. I talk about periods all the time. I talk about hormone balance all the time. I talk about these types of things. But it's important for me to put a little bit more emphasis on healthy periods and really what they are and what we should look for and how we should feel, because every single day I have consultations with women and their periods tell this amazing story, good, bad, or in between, about themselves, about their reproductive system. And as the Vagina Lady, as the owner of Cosmic Woman, as an advocate for healthy periods, easy breezy periods, I have to tap into certain things and definitely educate the masses about what really a healthy period should be and what it should look like. So of course, before I start any Womb Wednesday, I always love to start with prayer. And so we're going to start there and then we're going to go get right into it, okay? Dear God, myself and everyone on this live just is so grateful and thankful for the unconditional love, the mercies, the graces, just everything that you really bestow upon us. We also ask you to just be with us right now in this time where the world is just so crazy. We ask you to just hold our hand, guide us, and also we thank you for just everything. We are lucky, we are blessed. And we ask you to allow us to realize and remember the fact that we are blessed and that things could always be worse. And so we should definitely look at things from a positive light. Amen. All right. Okay, so if anybody's wondering what is going on, because of course I'm like sports bra wrapped up in like all this sheet, I am actually doing a vaginal steam. So I am going to be steaming my coochie while I talk to you about healthy periods, because steaming is great for periods. Steaming is healthy for periods. And so I am definitely steaming while we talk about all of this niceness. So when we talk about healthy periods, one of the first things that we have to get into is the regularity of the period. How often are you having periods? Are you having a period every month? Because if you are having a period every month, that is definitely a positive thing. If it is that you're having periods every other month, every 2 months, every once a year, right? That tells us that something is wrong. That tells us that there is some sort of hormonal imbalance that's happening, why it is that your period isn't coming every single month. So a lot of times with my clients, that's something that we have to tackle. That's something that we have to get into. We have to come to this conclusion that an understanding that a woman is supposed to have a period every single month. So if it is that you're not having a period, then that's something we need to look into. If it is that you're having a period twice a month, that is also something we have to look into, because there's no reason you should have a period twice a month unless your period ended on the 1st of October, let's say for example, and then it came the 31st of October, because by then, 30 days has passed. And for the majority of women, we have periods anywhere between 27, 28 days up until like 32 days. And so, of course, a 30 days between one period and another period would be okay. That would be healthy. That would be normal. If it is that you are not having a period every month, that is definitely a hormonal issue, and we have to tackle that. Apart from regularity when it comes to a period, there are also other things that we have to think about, and that is definitely the color of our period. So there are some women that once their period comes down, their period is like brown or black or burgundy. And I'm not sure how many people on the live at this point have gone through that or deal with that. But that in itself also is not healthy. We have to make sure that when our periods come down, there are only 3 colors that tells me that the period is somewhat healthy. Those colors are pink, light red, or bright red. So if you come to me, a consultation, or you text me or you call me and you say, hey, my period doesn't start those colors. My period starts brown. My period starts burgundy. My period starts purple. My period starts black. Any of those colors tells me that the blood itself is old. It's old blood that is coming out of your vagina before the fresh blood comes. Old blood. How do we get old blood? What is that about? Old blood is because your cervix opens when your period is to come. And it opens and the blood leaks down and comes down and flows down. When we're ending our period, sometimes the cervix closes before the rest of the period has released. And because of that, because it has closed, now what happens is that rest of the period that could have come down is stored behind the cervix, waiting until the next period so that the cervix can now open so that the blood flows. So if your period is brown, is burgundy, is black, is purple, is any of these darker types of colors, we know that the cervix has closed before all the blood came out. We do not want a period that are those colors. We want a healthy, fresh color, blood color type of period, which would be, as I said before, pink, light red, or bright red. That's it. That's it. There are no other colors that tell me that the blood is fresh. Apart from the color, we also have to get into smell, okay? Because a lot of times for women, their periods have a smell. They can smell their period even with their pads on or their tampons on and their panties on and their pants on, they can smell it. Or even if they can't smell it, once they pull down everything and sit on the toilet and hear their pad is there in their face, closer to their face, they realize that they smell kind of weird, kind of old, kind of fishy, kind of smelly. And it is a little bit more offensive than it is positive. It doesn't necessarily smell good. That also tells me that the period itself is not healthy. And women that suffer from this type of thing, usually their periods give them what you would call a pH balance issue. So there's some women that before they get their period, before they even see any blood, they start to have itching. They start to have smell. They start to have all these different symptoms. And the reason why that's the case is because the period itself is throwing off their pH balance. Your period throwing off your pH balance means that the blood in itself is toxic. And so we have to make sure that we eliminate all of these toxins so that you don't have this problem. So if it's yeast, if it's BV, before the period, after the period, that is literally the period being old. The period is toxic, and that is what is throwing off your pH balance. So that in itself we have to look into. So if your period has, because periods are not supposed to have a smell, like at all. Like your period should smell like nothing, just like how your vagina should really smell like nothing, unless it is that you're engaging in sexual activity. If you're engaging in sexual activity, of course the vagina smell can shift. It still should not be offensive, but it can shift. And we have to have the understanding that that is the case. Another thing that we have to look into when we think about healthy periods versus non-healthy periods is clots. So many women suffer from clots during their periods. Clots. And I'm talking any types of clots. It could be the big, chunky, look like a big piece of flesh. It could be the small ones that look like a little pebble that like plop and plop out. It could be the ones that are stringy, where it's like the blood that's stringy in itself. Those as well. All of those types of clots are an issue. When you have your period, a healthy period has no clots. I don't care how big they are, and I don't care how small they are. You should just have blood literally flowing out of your vagina. That's all it should be. Literally, that's it. When we get into these types of masses and these different types of stringy clots and all of that, it is the uterine lining that is shedding. It either means, number one, your uterine lining is being developed too much, so it's too thick, and because it is so thick, it has to shed at a rapid rate. Or it is that your lining of the uterus is shedding so much that now the lining is thin. And a thin uterine lining is also not healthy. We don't want it too thick, but we also don't want your uterine lining to be too thin either. We want it just right. Just right. Length of period. This always gets me because for the majority of the time, women have periods that last anywhere from, and I'm talking average. This is not healthy, this is average. Women have periods that usually last anywhere between 5 days to 10 days. Average. That's too long, guys. Why are you bleeding for 5 days? Why are you even bleeding for 10 days? The more you bleed is the more your body is telling you that something is wrong. Something is off. There's no reason for us to have to bleed that long. You can have a healthy period and literally your period lasts 1 day. Imagine that. A 1 day period. Which means you don't have extra spotting, or you don't have this spotting before the period. Then the period comes. Then you have this extra spotting at the end with a little bit of brownness coming towards the ending of it. That is not healthy. It's not. When you have a period that lasts 1 day, 2 days, 3 days, that's it. I don't want any of my clients to be having a period that's lasting more than 3 days. Why? Why are you losing so much blood? Why is your period lasting so long? So length of the period is just as important as the smell, and are you having clots, and the color, and the regularity. All of this matters. It all tells a story in what is happening with your reproductive system. So apart from the actual blood, right? Apart from the actual period itself, we also have to look at other things. And one of those things are the symptoms of our periods, okay? The symptoms. Majority of women, not all, but the majority of women have symptoms before their period. The symptoms is what tells them that the period is coming. Some women have breast tenderness, nipple tenderness, the breast becomes swollen. That's one thing. For others, you find that they might have that whole yeast issue or itching issue before the period starts. Some are bloating, some have cramps before the period starts, some have back pain before the period starts. Any of these types of things, moodiness, any of those things, all of that tells us that something is off. Because when your period is going to start, it should be a surprise. You should be surprised your period has started. Unless it is that you track your period and you know that, okay, I know my period is coming on the 14th of October, so you expect your period on the 14th of October. But if you're not doing that, then it should definitely be a surprise. Even if you know that your period is due on the 14th of October, there really shouldn't be any signs and symptoms of that. Yeah, maybe if you have a little nipple tenderness, I'm not really so stressed about that. But if your boobs are swollen and you're having back pain and breasts and cramping and all these other entities, something is definitely wrong with that. Okay, that is definitely a red flag. So apart from before the period, we then have during the period. And during the period, it should also be easy and breezy. So while the blood is actually flowing, as I said before, we should not have clots, but we should also not have bloating. We should also not have back pain and breast pain and nausea and all this extra tiredness. These things tell us, as I said before, that something is off. Something is wrong. Okay? Now you have those that before the period, during the period, and after the period, they have symptoms. Right? And that was me. 9 years ago, 10 years ago, 11 years ago, I used to have only one good week. Before my period, at least 2 weeks before my period, I was pop. During the period, I was even more pop. After the period was really the only time that I had peace. 1 week out of the whole 4 weeks of the month. That was showing me that something was wrong with my period. Something was wrong with me. Something was wrong with my reproductive system. It was off. And so I'm telling you, ladies, and any gentlemen that are on this live, if your female friends, if your significant other, your lover, your partner is suffering with symptoms before the period, during the period, after the period, or all of the above, something's wrong. The uterus is balling out. The pH is probably off. All these different things show us that there is a problem. So now we say to ourselves, okay, I have this issue, I have this. So what the fuck do I do? Like, what do I do? The first thing you do is do a freaking ultrasound. Anytime it is that you're suffering from any reproductive issue, I don't care. It could be that you're not getting pregnant. It could be that your periods are horrible and stressful. You have to go and make an appointment with your OBGYN, go to your clinic, whatever it is, your midwife, whoever it is that you use. Go to them and make sure you do a transvaginal pelvic ultrasound. You don't want an ultrasound over your belly. No. You want to make sure that they take that camera and put it in your vagina so they can see deeper. They can look closer and see if there are any issues. If there are any physical issues that let us know something is wrong. So for example, if it is that you don't see a period every month, and you see a period every month, see a period every other month, or you see a period 3 times a year, or any of those types of things. When you do an ultrasound, the ultrasound is then going to let us know, hey, this woman suffers from PCOS, for example. Because a lot of times PCOS shifts the period in a way where sometimes it just does not come. If it is that your period just continues over and over and for a whole month you're having your period, that tells us a sign as well. It could also be PCOS, but it could be your fibroids, because some women just bleed and bleed and bleed out when it is that they suffer from fibroids. So an ultrasound allows us to be able to see what is happening. Also, we have to look at diet. And diet is always included, right? Because depending on what it is that you're eating or not eating, it will affect your reproductive system. So if it is, for example, that you bleed a lot, or you bleed heavy, or there are 4 days of your period that's heavy, if you were to change your diet, you would realize that your period actually becomes lighter. It becomes shorter, just from changing your diet. What in your diet do you think you need to change? The dairy intake, the beef intake, the pork intake, the soy intake. All of these types of things create more of an issue for your period. And so that's something that we have to look at. Apart from that, we also want to make sure that we're eating foods that are not GMO. Foods that don't have wax on them. Foods that are natural. That also makes a huge difference when it comes to having a healthy period. Then we get into things like exercise. Exercise, right? And the fact that exercise always is going to help the periods be better. Why do you think exercise makes a period better? Circulation. There are so many women that suffer from period pains, and the whole reason why, they don't have cysts, they don't have fibroids, they don't have reproductive conditions. The real reason why it is that she's having pain every single month before her period and during her period is because of her circulation, because of the blockage in her reproductive system. Blockage, guys. Stagnant blood. These things make a difference. So I suggest, if you're having pain during your period, exercise. Change your diet. Those things make a difference. Another thing that makes a difference is the types of pads that you are using. Because if you're using pads and tampons that have chlorine bleach and pesticides and fragrance and all these other things that they shove in the pads and the tampons, you find that your period is heavier. You bleed more. Your period itself, the blood, is more toxic. And it's going to become more toxic. Good night. It's going to become more toxic because the actual thing, the pad, the tampon that is supposed to catch this blood is actually creating more of a stress. It's creating more, it's with all the toxins that's in it, it is allowing your reproductive system to act and to be like function in a fucked up way. So look at your pads, look at your tampons. And most times the generic, the normal pads that we know and we hear about usually have those things in them. If you change nothing about your diet, nothing about your exercise routine, and all it is that you do is change the type of pads and tampons that you use, you are going to realize that your period is shorter and a little bit easier just because you have changed this toxic thing that you put at your vagina or in your vagina. It changes. I will say any woman on this live or any other woman that decides that she's not going to use those toxic things and decides that she's going to use natural pads and natural tampons, her period is going to drop at least 2 days. At least 2 days. It might not happen the first time you use it because, of course, your body is not used to that. Your body is still very toxic from the pads that it has gotten before. But by the second month, by the third month, by the fourth month, you're going to realize that your period is shorter. Hands down. So I'm talking about all these things in terms of your period should be like this and your period should be like that, and this means that your period is popped down and it no good and all these things. But I can't talk about those things without also talking about a remedy. How do we now fix these things? What do we do to make this better? One of those things is what I'm doing right now, a vaginal steam. And I'm actually steaming at the moment, right now. Okay? And the reason why I'm steaming, sorry, you guys can't see me. The reason why it is that we steam is for a lot of these reasons. It's to make sure that when the blood comes, it's fresh blood. It's to make sure that at the end of our period, all the blood comes out before our cervix closes up. The vaginal steam helps with shortening the period as well. So I steam for all those reasons, on top of the fact that it's just so freaking feels so good and you feel so fresh after. Sorry, I'm just topping up my vaginal steam. Ooh, it's hot. It's warm. Woo! Okay, so it is important definitely to steam. And when I say steam, I will always say steam on the last day of your period. Don't wait until the period is gone to steam, because the cervix is now closed. Okay, steam on the last day. Or for some women, they spot slightly for like 2 days, or maybe for 3 days they have very, very light spotting. That's when you want to steam. And you can steam back to back. Say, for example, your period is ending and you're on, I don't even know, whatever day of your period, and it is just light spotting, steam. Then maybe the next day you can steam again. There's nothing wrong with that. When you do that, you're going to find that the following month when your period starts, that brown blood, that burgundy blood, that black blood, all of that is changed. And you have this beautiful pink or light red or bright red color with your period. Okay? Apart from that, apart from vaginal steaming, which also, of course, is great for sex, like great. If you're not orgasming, please do a steam and then have sex, because you're going to realize that you're going to climb the Himalayas, okay? Because the steam just awakens all the niceness. Apart from that, as I said before, pads, using natural pads, using natural tampons are important. Yes, of course, here at Cosmic Woman, we sell natural pads. We sell natural tampons, because if we're going to talk about it, we have to at least sell it. We have to at least tell you where to go to get it. So when it comes to liners, for example, it's no different. We want to make sure your liners, your pads, and your tampons are natural. This is a brand that we sell called Jewel. I don't know if you guys can see it. I don't know if the light is too bright. Can you guys see? Jewel. Now this is actually a liner, and I use this as my pad. So I don't use day pads, I don't use night pads, I don't use overnight pads, okay? I use liners with wings for my pad, for my heavy day, for my light day, for all my days. We also have, and this is Jewel, by the way, okay? And you guys can get this in Jamaica, or you can get this abroad, okay? Because we can definitely ship this to you. The other Jewel pad that we sell, because I don't carry all the Jewel pads, I just really kind of like make sure that we're getting a little bit of something. Another one is the overnight Jewel, okay? Now the overnight, of course, are for the women that bleed a lot and excessively, right? It has wings, it holds you. This is also a great option. Great option. Another brand that we carry is Cherish. Cherish, this is the day. And this is what I used to use before I started using the Jewel, the day. And I would literally use 4 pads, maybe 5, out of this pack. This pack has 10 in them, and I would use 4 or 5 for my entire period. So this in itself would last me 2 periods. I mean, how great is that? We also have the night in Cherish. And of course, this is a little bit longer, a little bit thicker, so it can hold more, okay? So if it is that you need to use your night, then here is the night. Now with the Cherish pads, what is great about them is that they have an ion strip. And the ion strip really helps to make the pad more dry. I'm not sure how many of you have had your period and you feel very wetty, like you feel wet down in your vagina and in the pad, and it's like it feels yucky, and every time you pee you have to change your pad because it just wets and weird and nasty. That's not the issue with these pads, okay? These pads keep you dry. Smell, non-existent. Now with the Jewel, these have graphene strips. Now graphene helps with the pain. So imagine you using a pad that helps you with the pain of the period. The pain? Like really? How amazing is fucking that? It's amazing. So guys, there's no reason for you to not use pads or tampons that are natural and that will help your period to be more easy and breezy. Moving on from the pads, we have to get into number 1, the fact that sometimes women need to cleanse. Sometimes you have to cleanse to get to make sure that the period is a healthy period, to make sure your body is healthy, okay? And we have a few different types of cleansing options here at Cosmic Woman. One is a tonic. We have cellular cleanse and we have candida cleanse. And either one of those cleanses are going to help for your period to be better. These are cleanses that you take only at night. And I promise you, if you suffer from bloatedness, or if you want to lose weight or any of those types of things, the cleanse also helps with that, for sure. Another thing is the liver tonic. Okay? Now, a lot of times the reason why our reproductive system is off is because our liver is saturated with one bag of fuckery. It's saturated with toxins, it's saturated with estrogen, it's saturated with male hormones, it's saturated with all of these different things, which is what at the end of the day throws off our entire fucking period, right? Taking 2 tablespoons of this every day really helps you to eliminate the toxins, the male hormone, the estrogen, all of that extraness from the liver. The liver has to stay healthy, it has to stay strong, or else you are going to suffer from reproductive issues on top of all other kind of issues. Okay? Apart from that, of course, as I told you before, there are vaginal steams. Okay? Now, most times when a client comes to me to buy a vaginal steam, they buy the herb blend. And the herb blend is actual physical herbs, the leaf, the plant, the flower itself of the herb. And it's great, and it does great things, and you know, it definitely will help you to make the period and the color of the period and all of, and the shorter, and make the period shorter. But there are other things that you can steam with. And no, not vinegar, because all that does is dry out your pussy, please ladies. But another thing that you can steam with is oils. And that's actually what I'm steaming with now. I am steaming with essential oils. And it is not regular essential oil. You can't go get this in any pharmacy and any little health food store. The essential oils that I put in this, I can open this and I can swallow it. And it can heal my body. You don't ever want to use any essential oil that is not A-grade essential oils. And trust me, I am anal about my oils, I'm anal about my herbs, I'm anal about my pads, I'm anal about all of those things. Essential oil, amazing. Amazing, amazing, amazing. So don't be surprised that it is that you order a vaginal steam and you get the oil versus the herb. Don't be surprised. Try it. You'll be surprised, because for me, I guess because I have been steaming for so long, I mean years upon years upon years, and I have been using the herbs themselves, it's been great for me. But there's something about the oil and steaming with the oil that leaves your vagina with this, moist is not the word, but it's a different type of moisture. It is a oily moisture. And so when it comes to things like having sex after you steam, there are a lot more fabulous benefits than if you were to steam with just the herbs. You can also steam with both. So if you come to Cosmic Woman to do a steam here and to sit in this steam chair, isn't it beautiful with all the bamboo? If you come here to do that, you are going to get both, okay? Because you're coming here. You're coming to the place to steam. So I'm giving you the best of both worlds. You're getting the herbs, you're getting the oil, you're getting all of that. Now, if you decide that you are going to go somewhere to steam, and let's keep it real, okay? There are many thousands and millions of people. Ooh, I think I need to charge this. 1 second, guys. Sorry about that. I don't know why this phone decided it want to come and pop down on me. But we're going to unpop it right now. Awesome. Yay. Okay, we're back. Okay, so if it is, right, that you are going to come to the office, right, we're going to give you both. We're going to give you the herbs and we're going to give you the oils, and all of that is going to work up nicely. It is going to allow you not only for your vagina to get all of the nice detoxing and also hormonal balancing, but also the aromatherapy that you get. I had a client the other day come last week, and she said that she came, she had a headache, she almost canceled her appointment for her vaginal steam, but she didn't, because she was like, man, I'm just going to do this because I'm over this whole period stress. And she came and she got a vaginal steam done, and she called me and she said, man, I came there with a headache and I no longer have a headache. The steam, the aromatherapy, all of it removed my headache. And I said to her, of course it did. Because the whole thing about it is, when we're healing the vagina, when we're healing the reproductive system, we also have to heal everything else. It is not just one system or one organ that we're working with. We're working with an abundant amount of organs because everything works together. Everything is it's a unit, right? And so she was so floored by the fact that her headache was gone. So that is also definitely an option, okay? In terms of if it's the herb blend of the vaginal steam, or if it is also, or if it is the oil version of the vaginal steam. And of course, we call it facials at Cosmic Woman. Another thing that is great to help with periods is evening primrose. I don't know if you guys can see it. Evening primrose, okay? Now, evening primrose is great for many different things. If it is that you do not get a period every month, evening primrose is your friend, okay? If it is that your hormones are off, evening primrose is your friend. If it is that you are not ovulating, evening primrose is your friend. Now, please, don't just go somewhere and go and buy evening primrose, because I find that most times when you look at the ingredients of the evening primrose, it has water, it have the evening primrose oil, and it have all kind of other additives to stretch out. So imagine the amount of evening primrose that is really in it. And that's why sometimes it's cheaper than my evening primrose, because all of this bottle is like 100% virgin, organic evening primrose. There is no filler at all. There is no water, there is no nothing. It is just literally the oil. So if it is that you're not having a period every month, if you're having periods twice a month, if it is that you're not ovulating, evening primrose is for you. The next one, and I love this by the way, is our hormonal oil blend, okay? Now this is not to be swallowed. Everything else I mentioned in terms of the liver tonic, the cleanse, the evening primrose, those are all things to swallow internally. Hormonal oil blend is not for you to swallow. This is literally just topical. Topical meaning just for your skin. So where do you put this? You put this on the bottom of your feet before you go to bed. If you have a pedicure or a manicure that you're going to do, you put a few drops of this oil in the water. If you like to take baths and that type of thing, put a few drops in your bath. If it is that you like to soak your feet at home, I don't care if Epsom salt or pink Himalayan salt or Dead Sea salt is in the water. It could be just pure Ross water alone, just Sosa water. Evening primrose, great. no, sorry, hormonal oil blend. Great, great, great. It's really great for helping you to balance your hormones. And we know that the more our hormones are balanced, the more our periods are going to be healthy and easy and breezy. Now, I want to get into the teas. Who on this live takes womb tea? Is there anybody on this live that does womb tea? Anybody? Womb tea is a great, great, great blend for your period. Okay? It has so many things in it. It has red raspberry, it has red clover, it has peppermint, it has chamomile, it has hibiscus, what in Jamaica we also call sorrel. It has dandelion, it has nettle. It has so many things that help the reproductive system be healthy, which means then the period is healthy. Okay? It tastes good. I love it. It's easy. And it really, really helps the period. Okay? Another tea is, of course, the red raspberry. And red raspberry in itself is amazing for periods because it really focuses on the uterus. It focuses on the uterine lining. It allows the uterine lining to be not too thick, but also not too thin. And I spoke about that earlier. So let's say, for example, you get a period and you're 10 or 11 or 12. Your mom should have you on this. So if there are any moms on here that have a young daughter that has her period, red raspberry is it. If it is that you're pregnant, red raspberry tones the uterus. You want to be on red raspberry, okay? Red raspberry does not help you hormonally, which is why I do the womb tea, because this helps the uterus, it helps the digestive system, it helps all of that. But some women don't need that. For some women, it is literally only their uterus that is the issue. And red raspberry is for you. Now, let's say, for example, your period lasts 7 days and 10 days and 20 days and 3 months and then madness there. Shepherd's purse. This is for you. Shepherd's purse cuts the period. Because sometimes we have to train the period in a natural way instead of probably using birth control or one of those things. So shepherd's purse would be great for you to use. You start, let's say for example, your period lasts 2 weeks. Start taking shepherd's purse by the 7th day or the 6th day, depending on how your period is. Because for some women, they spot for a few days, then the period come down. For other women, their period just come down so. Okay? So for me to tell you an exact amount of days of when to use this, I don't think I could really be able to give you that information and be honest, right? But what I would say is, it is important for us to shorten the period, and shepherd's purse would do so. So if you purchase shepherd's purse and you don't know what day to take it to start cutting down or cutting off the period, send us a DM, send us a WhatsApp, send us an email, and we will ask you a few questions, and so then you can know what day to start taking the shepherd's purse. I'm not sure how many people have questions so far, and I am going to scroll. I'm going to scroll and see. Okay, some people might be off by now, not sure. But I am scrolling and looking. And please, guys, if you have any questions, please send them. Please, 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 please. I definitely want you guys to have an understanding so that we can move on. Okay? I'm not... After period pain ain't nice. Okay, Virgo baby. So the fact that you are not enjoying you're having issues with your period after the period, or you're having issues after the period, you definitely want to work that out, okay? The uterus is probably really inflamed, okay? Which I suggest ginger and turmeric. It really helps with inflammation. So I would suggest that you add that to your womb tea, and you would have best of all worlds. What causes the period to be late or early? How do you regulate it? So I got into this already and I spoke about this, right? I'm going to top up one more time. How do you regulate your period? There are many different ways in how to regulate the period. Vaginal steams can help to regulate your period. Evening primrose can help to regulate the period. Womb tea, red raspberry can help to regulate the period. Making sure that you have vitamins and minerals in your body that are plant-based or food-based also can help to regulate the period. Did I say evening primrose? That can help to regulate the period. I use 7th generation. 7th generation is fine. It has no toxins, it has no nothing, that's fine. I personally didn't enjoy 7th generation because I felt like I was still very kind of wet-ish. Like I didn't feel dry. I felt like the blood was still sitting on the top of the pad. Same thing like Natural Care. Natural Care was one of the first pads that I also used that were natural. And I found that there's still a lot of wetness, and I don't like that. It's the reason why a lot of women love Always, because Always has a way of really making you feel dry, and that's what I was looking for. What pads do I recommend? So I went into that already. We have Cherish pads, we have Jewel, and we also have natural tampons as well if you're a tampon type of girl. And nothing is wrong with tampons, okay? Just as long as you're not living in it and sleeping in it and doing all kind of things all day, every day in it. Ramona, where you did that all this time? I don't know where I was. I don't know. Black Princess, you're gone, man. Cherish lasts me for 3 months. There you go. 3 months, Black Princess, right? 3 months. That's like, how could you want anything else? I love the oil blend. Okay, so even Black Princess is saying she has tried the oil blend and she loves it. I love it too. Like, to each his own. Everyone is different and everybody's looking for something different and everybody feels different things. Okay, so you can't really say this is better and that is better. It really depends on the actual individual. Somebody just said they just got mine. They do the womb tea. Yes, love it. How do you regulate your period? So I went into that already, okay? I just went into that. It's all about balancing the hormones. If your period is not coming every single month or it's coming more than once a month, your period needs to be regulated, okay? And with that, we're talking about, for sure, balancing the hormones. And I went into all of that already in terms of how to do so. You can definitely look back at this live so you can figure that out in terms of what is best for you personally. Can I take the liver cleanse, cellular cleanse, and the teas at the same time? Yes, you can. You definitely can. What do you have for blocked tubes? Okay, so blocked tubes is a whole nother topic, right? But in terms of blocked tubes, we have a lot of things. And it really, sometimes it depends on what the tube is blocked with. Because I realize that a lot of women have blocked tubes and they don't even know what it's blocked with. They don't even think about the fact of what it could be blocked with. When you have blocked tubes, it could be blocked with plaque, mucus, scar tissue. Those are usually the three things that are an issue, okay, or what it could be blocked with. What can help with huge clots? Vaginal steaming, red raspberry, or womb tea. Those things are going to definitely help you with your clots, 100%. Can these things be taken while breastfeeding? Okay, so if you are breastfeeding, there are certain things you cannot do. You can do evening primrose, you can do the hormonal oil blend, you can do red raspberry, but for many things, when it comes to breastfeeding, you really can't do because baby can't manage. Baby, it's not good for baby, okay? So if it is that you're having some kind of period issues and you're breastfeeding, please contact me, send me a DM, send me a WhatsApp, so that we can let you know what exactly you personally need. Currently steaming while watching this. Me too, I'm steaming too. My pussy feels so good. Oh my God. So guys, please, in everything that I've spoken about when it comes to having a healthy period, right? And regulating the period and making sure you have a period every month and making sure that it's an easy, breezy period. There are things that we can do. Please remember, painful periods, non-existing periods, clotty periods, periods that have a smell, periods that, any of that type of thing. That is an issue. It is your body telling you something is wrong. Your period tells a story. Your periods let us know what is going on. Red maca. I see someone saying red maca. So red maca is great for regulating the period. In Jamaica, we are out of red maca. If you are in the US or anywhere else in the world, red maca is available. But unfortunately in Jamaica right now, we are completely out of red maca. We've been out for a while. I am waiting for it. I'm waiting for customs to deal with it. So if anybody have any link with customs, link me because you'll be my best friend. What causes the brown discharge in the abundance before the period? Okay, so I went into this. The brown discharge that you are seeing, right, at the beginning of the period is old blood. When your period ends, I have no problem with it ending in a kind of light brown or brown type of situation because it is old blood. But if your period starts burgundy or brown or black, it's telling me that your cervix closed before all the blood came out. And so the blood sat back behind the cervix, lingering, sitting there, creating toxins and all kind of stress, waiting for the period to come again so that the cervix can open up so that the blood can come down. And that is the reason why you have brown blood first or burgundy blood first or black blood first before you have the fresher blood color. There are some women that through their whole period it is brown or black. That's a huge issue. You need to be steaming every week if that's the case. So guys, of course, it's about that time. We can't go anymore, unfortunately. But I thank you guys for coming on. Thank you so much. Please tune in. We have Pum Pum 101